Hello everyone, my name is Chloe and today I'm here with a different kind of video. Today I am doing a mood board for the release of Princes and Promises by Sandhya Menon. It is release week, and for those of you who don't know, I am actually a member of Sandhya's street team. So this week the street team is doing a social media tour to promote the release of Princes and Promises, the second book in the Rosetta Academy series, the first one being of Curses and Kisses. I decided for my post I was going to be doing a mood board, and I've actually never done a mood board before, and I decided to do one in my bullet journal, and I picked out a bunch of pictures of things that made me think of Princes and Promises. One thing that you can see here is that I am putting pictures of mountains. Rosetta Academy is set in Colorado in the mountains, so I thought it would be perfect to have a nice mountain background for the bullet journal. I have a lot of cozy colors that work with this series, and specifically with Katarina's style. I did pre-order a copy and it hasn't come in at the time of filming this, but it is just a beautiful book. There was a cover change between the first book and the second book, but honestly, now that I have seen the cover in person in this new book, it is gorgeous and I love how it worked out. So like I said, this is the second book in the Rosetta Academy series. It is a modern fairy tale retellings set at a boarding school. The first one is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and the second one of Princes and Promises is a retelling of The Frog Prince. I have only read 2 books that are a Frog Prince retelling, and this one was probably the best one. I was very excited for this series to continue, but I was a little hesitant because this book does focus on Raoul and Katarina, and I was very hesitant just because of how these characters were in the first book, specifically Katarina. I ended up really happy with how this book went, and it did take me a few chapters to establish a voice for Raoul, mostly as a main character instead of as a side character, which is how he was perceived before. And I really wasn't sure what direction this book would go in, especially when I've only read one other book that was a Frog Prince retelling. And honestly, I think the story worked out so well for the 2 characters and wrapped up very nicely for Katarina and Raoul. Katarina's story was especially rounded out well, and I was glad to be in her head and see a different side of her after how she was portrayed in the first book. So I thought it was really nice to see that different side of her. And the thing that I really enjoy about these fairy tale retellings is that while they're modern and set in a boarding school, they do still have some sort of little magical twist, and I definitely think that you can see a lot of that in the covers, especially the new covers that were put out for these books. The more you look at them, the more detail you get out of them, and it's just so great to be able to spot things after reading the book. Overall, I enjoyed this book and I rated it 4 stars, which is the same that I rated the first book as well. I'm really excited to read the next one in the series. I'm not sure if it's going to be a trilogy or if there's going to be more books than that, but I'm so excited to see what Sandhya does in the future of this series and see which character we're going to be following next, because it's such a fun ride every single time that I get to read these books. And this is the final product. I'm really happy with how it turned out, considering this is the first time that I have ever done a mood board and I really didn't know what I was doing. I definitely think there's a lot of dark colors and aspects that really work with the series because it is set in the mountains, and there's always ski trips, so it's snowy. And the sparkles really, I think, help capture Katarina's style. I don't know, this is just what really spoke to me, and I'm really happy with how it turned out, considering I've never done a mood board before. So make sure you go check out Of Princes and Promises by Sandhya Menon, as well as the other book in the series, which is Of Curses and Kisses. They are fairy tale retellings set in a modern world at a boarding school, and they are fantastic. Of Princes and Promises is available now wherever books are sold, and I highly recommend you go check out the whole series as well as everything else that Sandhya writes. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it. As always, if you like what you see here, please go ahead and click subscribe. I post new videos every week, so click subscribe so you can be updated for when I post those. Thank you all so much. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!
In the darkness, I don't feel so